Yes, initially I was very surprised that a small town like Cebu should have such an impressive university building. Not just impressive in terms of its size, but also the architecture and being so eco-friendly. So yes, that certainly came as a surprise. I was also pleasantly surprised by the quality of the facilities, the teaching staff here, and the progress that they've made in the very short time, 10 years that this building has been open. Yes, to be honest, actually my wife and I, we've done a lot of world travel, and we've got a particular interest in architecture, particularly in architecture of new buildings that are very eco-friendly. And so I have to say, we've looked at architects such as Richard Rogers, Norman Foster, Zaha Hadid, David Chipperfield, his work in Berlin. So we're familiar with buildings which are about modern architecture, very eco-friendly. So in that respect, not a surprise. But there again, to find a building like this in Cebu, that was a real surprise. And so yes, it's a real delight to be here and be able to, my wife in particular has spent a lot of time taking photographs because it's one of her interests, strong interests, and I think she's hoping to enter some of her photographs into a competition when she gets back home. Yes, the QS course at UCTS is accredited by the Board of Quantity Surveyors of Malaysia. And so it is also our university at Bristol. Its QS also has accreditation. We actually found some 20 years ago that the competencies that the PAQS board in Malaysia was holding to were very much in tune with what we wanted to deliver in Bristol. And so we share quite a lot of common content, common syllabuses and common modules. So I think in that respect there is plenty of opportunity for the course in Cebu to get accreditation as we are in Bristol, accreditation with, for example, the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, and one of the institutions in Bristol that we have also gained accreditation with is the Chartered Institute of Civil Engineering Surveyors. And I think that may well be particularly appropriate because there's a lot of civil engineering work to be done in Cebu and certainly in Sarawak more generally. But also I think it's very interesting that the staff here are trying to get an interest in not just civil engineering but also the local shipbuilding industry. And I think if they can establish a relevance of the QS profession and the course to shipbuilding as well as all of the potential construction development work, then I think that's going to be a really interesting time for this university. One of the challenges that I think UCTS is going to face is particularly in developing from undergraduate education into their master's program they're hoping to establish. I think the learning culture that I see in not just Malaysia but also in the Far East from the experience of students that we've had coming to Bristol. Developing a course to master's level and developing the undergraduate program, it's really important to actually establish students with a reflective learning style, a style that is working towards lifelong learning, to one which is always looking for creativity and innovation. And when you see some of the challenges that Sarawak is facing, then there will be a lot of work to be done in terms of helping to move the education system away from what I think might be perceived as a technical base to one which is quite a high level of professional work, where giving advice, being able to operate in a leadership role on construction jobs, civil engineering work, I think that is going to be an interesting challenge. I think there is the potential to rise to it, and certainly what I've seen in terms of the staff and their competency, their experience, I think it's achievable, and it will be a challenge, but it will be a very worthwhile and rewarding, and it will certainly set the reputation of UCTS into a top order of institutions able to deliver undergraduate and master's programs in Sarawak, in Malaysia generally. I have to hesitate there. I think, having only been here a couple of weeks, certainly I've had a very good impression, but I can't say that I have a lot of experience of the other courses in Sarawak or Malaysia, perhaps more generally. But I have to say, I think for a new university, given that the building was only built 10 years ago, and I think the course has only been running for something like 6-7 years, I think it's shown tremendous potential to get where it is at the moment. And so I would say the future's certainly got to be bright. The potential is there, and the future has got to be bright. It's a very sound basis to having a very strong reputation, certainly in Sarawak, and I think it's certainly looking as if it's moving towards being the top university in Sarawak. Then if you ask me if it's going to be the top in Malaysia, I think that will be quite a challenge, but I think the potential is certainly there. You have a very inspiring building, and certainly staff that I think will be happy to rise to the challenge. And yeah, the future is looking good in terms of being one of the top universities, if not the top in Malaysia. As I've said, I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of very interesting work that's going on, not least this trying to connect with the shipbuilding industry and civil engineering. I think I would say that if I was in Bristol thinking I was going to try that, I'd see that as quite a challenge in Bristol. So the university is certainly being very creative and has got a very adventurous program of development. So they're working on developing a master's program, and I'm hoping to help a little bit in terms of making that possible. So certainly if it develops a master's program on the top of its undergraduate program and manages to achieve this international standard of higher level education, and by that I mean developing reflective learning as being embedded into the way that the university develops and teaches, then I think the graduates will be have great career potential, and they will be able to aspire to rise to quite high levels in terms of leadership of the construction industry. That will improve the reputation, not just of the students and the graduates that come out of this university. It will probably encourage parents to think, yes, yeah, this is one of the leading universities. I would like my son, daughter to come to this university. That will help in terms of establishing the reputation, and not least, of course, the reputation with practitioners, in then saying, okay, we'd be really delighted to take one of these graduates because we know they're going to be really good because of that reputation. So I think the potential is all there, and I hope my contribution, my short contribution at the time that I'm here, might help the university in that direction. I shall certainly take a lot of interest in seeing the progress and hoping that in some way it's contributed to helping the university get there. So I think, yes, over the next 5 years, certainly over the next 10 years, I think there is a very promising future for this university to be one of the lead ones in Malaysia. UCTS, Moga. UCTS, Bola.